everybody, I'm Elizabeth Hines from ourpaleofamily.com, and it's December, and that means that it is Christmas cookie and treat season in my house. So we are Christians and we celebrate the real meaning of the season, and that is the birth of our Savior. But one of the ways we love to celebrate is with lots of goodies that we don't always have through the year. So I joke that it's not the Christmas season, it's cookie season in my house. And the kids used to bake with me all the time, and they are so busy with their own stuff they don't do that as much anymore. But at Christmas time, I can usually convince them to get in the kitchen with me. They love to decorate the sugar cookies and the gingerbread men and that sort of thing. But today I'm making fudge, and not just any old fudge, but we're making an orange dark chocolate layered fudge, and it is so good. I'm not a super huge fudge fan, but this one is really good. A small piece of it I love. And I tend to make it early in the season because it lasts a long time. Some of the cookies, when you're using almonds and not a lot of preservatives, or any preservatives really, some of these treats don't last quite as long. We eat them up pretty quickly, but the fudge lasts a while. And we do keep it pretty paleo, so grain-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free, all that stuff in my house. But the fudge is one of those recipes where we're using some chocolate chips. There's the white chocolate layer, so there's some sugar in here, and there's actually the soy lecithin. So we have a little bit that's kind of outside our norm, but it's once a year. So that's one of the compromises that we make. For my dark chocolate, I use Enjoy Life chocolate chips, which they are free of the 8 major allergens, so they're soy-free and dairy-free. Then they're 60% dark chocolate, I think. They used to say on here, they've redone their packaging. It's a darker chocolate. And one thing I hope you notice as I go through my recipe is I don't add any sugar. The only sugar that's in the recipe is what's in the chocolate, which white chocolate's very sweet. It's plenty sweet. And so it's not going to be that, kind of lock your jaw sweet type of fudge. So let's get started. Basically, we make the dark chocolate layer and then we make the orange layer. And I'm going to start by simply preparing my pan. So I have a 9x9 old stoneware pan, and I'm going to cut this piece of parchment to fit. So we'll just give it a little cut. Having some painting done today, and the painter is upstairs, and he probably just thinks I'm down here talking to myself, which I guess in essence I am. So fit this in, and then we want to have a lip. So I sort of fold that so it stays in place. That's basically in place, and we're going to just use a little bit of coconut oil to grease the edges that aren't already covered with the parchment. Actually, I want to stick a little bit right, so it'll help that paper stay in place. Okay, so now let me get my stove ready. Now with chocolate can be a little bit finicky. I'm going to turn my burners on low, and I'm going to do both the dark and the white layer at the same time. So I know for the dark I'm going to start by just adding my chocolate. We want this entire 10-ounce bag. I just lost one. Let me read ahead to the white chocolate layer. So I've added my dark chocolate to that one. My recipe for the orange layer, it calls for 10 ounces of white chocolate. This bag is 11 ounces. I'll just use the whole thing. It'll be fine. And to this one, I want to go ahead and add my coconut oil, which is 2 tablespoons. You want to be careful not to get any water in your chocolate. That's one of the things that can make it seize up. And in my recipe on the website, I show a picture of what that looks like, and it's not fun. You'll be frustrated. So be real careful. Make sure your pan is clean but completely dry. So I have 2 tablespoons of coconut oil in there, and I don't believe I need any in my white chocolate layer. No, so let me just get that out of the way. So I'm going to let my dark chocolate chips melt together with the coconut oil. And my white chocolate, I'm going to add my coconut cream. I believe that's my next step. Okay, so let me show you this. I had my coconut milk in the refrigerator. A lot of times the fat will, or the cream, we'll call it cream, that sounds nicer. The cream will rise to the top, even at room temperature, especially in the colder months of the year, but sometimes it doesn't. And so just a little insurance to make it easy for yourself, try to think ahead and get your coconut milk in the fridge. Piece of the paper. Okay, so for the white chocolate layer, I need 1/3 of a cup of the cream. So you can see how that's solid at the top. And it will be about 2/3 of this can because this is the full fat, it's not light coconut milk. Make sure you don't buy light. I can't really think of what you would ever want to use the light coconut milk for. So just make sure you get the regular one, because then it'll have all that yummy cream that you want. So press it in there so you make sure you get the full 1/3 of a cup, and we'll just set that aside until our chocolate chips are melted. For the dark layer, I need 1/2 cup. So you can see how the water or the milk has shown its little face in there. We don't want any of that. For this particular purpose, actually just made some ranch dressing yesterday, which that recipe is in my ebook called Your Paleo Holiday, and you need just the milk part for that recipe. So I'll use this for sure. Speaking of my book, it is full of even more recipes than just the ones you can find on my website. So if you're looking for, I know Thanksgiving has passed for this year, but I have a lot of Thanksgiving recipes, Christmas dinner, New Year's, Valentine's Day, that big football holiday that happens in February. This is a little bit messy because I'm into the juicy water part of it. I'm trying to get the water out and make sure I have the cream. So that's all it took was the 1 can. I thought I might need 2, so I had 2 available. So and I had a part of a can already in the fridge. So I'll just set that aside. Then I'll use this. Let me spin this one around to give this a stir. My chocolate is well on its way to being melted already. See how my white chocolate's doing. It's looking great too. You want to not let it go on its own for very long. See how that one got a little bit brown? I let it get a little too warm. It's totally okay. That'll melt. That was going to be a problem in just a minute, so I really caught it just in time. So with the white chocolate, which I find white chocolate to be a little bit more finicky. It's the cocoa butter in there that scorches easily. You really don't want any water in your white chocolate. This is almost completely melted. And then I'm going to add my cream, my coconut cream, salt, vanilla, orange, and then orange zest. Turn that way down to low. In my instructions, I said orange essential oil, and I think up here it says orange extract. And I got out the extract instead of my essential oil today, so I'm going to use the extract since it's here. So you want that to melt till it's smooth. And I'm actually going to swap out my rubber spatula at this point and use this whisk. Same thing with this guy. So I will confess, this recipe is not foolproof. I made it the first year that I created it, several years ago, and it turned out perfectly. It was amazing. Everybody loved it. No problems whatsoever. And then I went to make it last year and video it and show everybody, and it would not set up. It was the weirdest thing, and I made it over and over and over again, and it just didn't work. And the only thing I can think of is that I had run out of my coconut milk, that native forest that I ordered from Thrive Market. I haven't found it any place locally. I'm sure someplace carries it, but I haven't found it here where I live. And so I was using a different kind of coconut milk, and that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, it was still the cream. It acted the same. You know, it looked the same as I was putting it in. But, man, it was soft. It was like a fudge, I don't know, goo. And we just left it in the pan, and my husband would just scoop it out and eat it with a spoon. Okay, so this is coming off. Turn that one off. Scoot it to the side. Okay, I need a teaspoon of vanilla. And I need that for the chocolate layer too, so I'll leave it there. A teaspoon of orange. And a pinch of salt. And the zest of 1 orange. These are giant oranges. That's okay, that'll give us a lot of zest. This tool I'm using is called a microplane grater, and it's amazing. I've had it for, I don't know, a long time, 7 or 8 years. And it works just as well as it did the day I got it. And I use it for zesting, I use it for grating Parmesan cheese sometimes, nutmeg, anything you want super fine. It works amazingly well. And then we'll just cut those oranges and eat them for lunch. So let me just give this a stir. This looks like it kind of seized up on me a little bit, which again has never happened, but can you see that? It's looking a little bit lumpy. Maybe that is the type of white chocolate. Let me just beat it. A lot of times if your chocolate will seize up like that, you can fix it with a little bit of fat, so either some heavy cream or oil. Note that has worked out perfectly. It's smoothed out. That's just right. So I'm going to set that to the side. It smells amazing. This one, I'm going to turn him off. Let me scoop this to the side so you can see a little bit better. I'm going to whisk that in. So we're back to our chocolate layer, which is, I have my coconut cream and I have my chocolate chips. That's all that's in here right now. Want to get your arm workout and really whisk that till it's shiny and smooth. You see how pretty that is? I'm going to be really careful not to overheat that. And my coconut oil was in there as well. So I need my pinch of salt and 2 teaspoons of vanilla for this layer. The zest, the orange zest again. So we're getting some of that orange flavor in both layers. We're not putting the orange flavoring or essential oil in this layer, but just the orange zest. I did work out this morning, and I worked out yesterday, and my arms were really sore already, and then did a little bit of weights this morning in this class I took, and then now trying to do this, I feel like my arms are made out of Jell-O. That's a good thing, but it's painful. Okay, so let's whisk this all together. Everything's in. Okay, and now I'm going to actually use a larger spatula, and I'm going to put the lid on my vanilla because I'm a little bit of a spaz sometimes, and I do not want to knock over that giant bottle of very expensive vanilla. Okay, so here is my pan that we already prepared, so we're ready to go. Let me give this a whisk, or I'll give it a scrape with the spatula and just make sure everything is in there perfectly. I really hate this pan. I got it at a restaurant supply store, so it's a really nice quality, but it has a really heavy bottom, and unlike an all-clad like that other one, it's not the same thickness. The metal isn't the same thickness all the way. The bottom is thicker, and it's just, so then it's bottom heavy, and it's a pain. I don't like using it. But when I need 2 pans of that size, then that's my choice. So I'm just going to smooth this gently. To the corners. Y'all, we're about to get that big winter storm. It's the beginning of December. I'm in North Carolina. We don't get a lot of snow here anyway, but certainly not this early in the year. We're usually late January, February snow town, but we're supposed to get quite a few inches of snow tomorrow, so I'm really not looking forward to it, honestly. I do enjoy the snow, but I really like it later in the year. In December we have a lot to do, Now can you see did you see how it was a little bit like, oh no, it's seizing up? It was a little bit separated looking when I first got the coconut cream in there, and just beat it really well with my whisk, and that's all smooth and lovely. Let me get another clean spatula. I've said this before, my husband teases me about having so many spatulas, but come cookie season, we use them all. So I'm just going to help myself with spreading it by sort of pouring it in, distribute it around the pan. Does that make sense? You can leave this as a completely layered fudge, so you have the dark on the bottom and the orange on top, but I kind of like it swirled together because I think that looks really pretty. And I will say my extended family, that they're coming around, but they have historically been a little bit skeptical of our way of eating. At Christmas time, when we show up with all of these treats, they certainly do their part in eating them. So just kind of lightly get that white chocolate layer spread over. Remember, we have the orange flavor in both layers with the orange zest, so it's not like somebody will be missing the orange flavoring if you don't get it completely evenly spread. But then I take, this is a Wilton from the cake decorating brand, Wilton, just very thin spatula, and I'm just going to run through in this sort of back and forth zigzag, and then go the other way. You don't want to do it too much or you'll lose that pretty swirl. So just, I find zigzag one direction and then zigzag back the other direction. And that's it. And then at the end, you have to eat it. It's really good. And that's it. And if it works, it sets up and it's beautiful. And I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator. I could stick it outside. It's freezing cold out there. But the squirrels would probably come eat it. I would if I was a squirrel. I'm going to stick it in the fridge. And it'll set up nice and solid. And I will show that to you in a little bit. Okay, so our chocolate orange fudge has been in the fridge for about 2.5, maybe 3 hours, and it has set up. So I just take this, the same thin spatula that I used to do my swirl, and just run along those two sides where we don't have the parchment to loosen it or make a mess. Let's see. There we go. That's a little bit of the coconut oil just coming up to the top there. And then out it comes, yay, and it's set up and it's perfect. So I'm going to just set it on my cutting board. This would be a little bit easier if you ran your knife under hot water, but I didn't do that because I forgot until I started doing it. So just run your knife under, you know, your hot tap. I'm just trying to cut a couple to show you. So just cut it across, you know, a bunch of bars, one direction. You don't need very big pieces, about 1 inch is big enough. And then here you have your beautiful layered chocolate orange fudge. It's the perfect fudgy texture, just like you're used to. You know, we didn't add any sugar. It's just whatever sugar was in the chocolate. I wasn't standing over the stove stirring and boiling to get to a certain temperature. It's creamy, it's delicious. It has this amazing orange flavor. I think you'll love it. I tried to make it last year with raspberry, and I didn't get that to work. I was using a raspberry jam, and it just didn't set up, but it tasted great, so I'm going to keep working on that this year. All right, so chocolate orange fudge. Again, the recipe is on the blog. You saw how easy it was. I hope you make this one, and I hope you enjoyed it. Happy holidays, everybody.